Perpetuating victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. Look, ladies, I know this isn't fair, but we're all always running against the worst cliche of who people think we are. Women Democrats can't look oversensitive or preachy or unable to laugh at themselves. They also can't look silly, like
Bill Maher goes full throttle on Democratic Party leaders, calling them out for abandoning their core mission, energizing the base, and winning elections. He exposes how party leadership gets trapped in petty distractions while real-world problems demand attention. On his political show, Maher doesn't hold back. The criticism is blunt, direct, and brutal. So smash that subscribe button and let's dive in.
Argument here. There's just the sugar rush that the no-contact people get from never coming in second in a I hate Trump the most contest. Really? That's your strategy, to go full high school and tell the guy with all the power he can't sit with you at the lunch table? To borrow a phrase familiar to HBO viewers, you are not serious people. I mean, what exactly is the argument? That by talking to Trump, I'll elevate him? Oh my God, don't tell me he could become president. Well, I guess Ma'am Donnie is going to elevate Trump because he went to the White House today, and look who's getting along now.
As Donna Brazil watches live, Maher zeroes in on what he sees as the DNC's biggest blind spot. You don't defeat Trump or the MAGA movement with boycotts, insults, or moral grandstanding. You defeat it through conversation. Maher argues that pretending Trump voters don't exist only makes them stronger. Political change doesn't happen through online outrage. It happens face-to-face. When a party pushes away voters who disagree, it doesn't look principled. It looks afraid. Maher's takeaway is crystal clear. If Democrats want to win again, stop talking about Trump voters and start talking to them. Dialogue isn't weakness, it's strategy.
House this week, Biden thought he could cut him off, but a year later he found out he couldn't. There's no perfect way to deal with Trump, but not engaging is for sure nothing. Axios wrote a column in August entitled 11 Ways to Influence Trump, based on many interviews with people who have done that. Number 8, get face-to-face. The trick is getting in the room, away from cameras and social media. Trump will say or write horrible things, but rarely in person, one-on-one, where he comes off kinder, more interested, less erratic. Exactly. And there's a bunch of examples of this, most recently the CEO of Intel, who Trump was hating on, but then he met in person and now he's a great guy.
Maher then targets another major failure of Democratic leadership, the refusal to own election losses. Instead of honest self-reflection, party leaders default to finger-pointing. From Kamala Harris to AOC to Bernie Sanders, the excuses never stop. Voters weren't informed. The media was biased. The messaging wasn't progressive enough. Or, worst of all, the public just didn't get it. Maher calls this mindset exactly why the party keeps repeating the same mistakes. Losing should trigger accountability, not denial. Without admitting where strategy failed or messaging backfired, nothing improves. Maher warns that a party that blames voters instead of itself loses credibility and drifts further from the people it claims to represent.
Guard to San Francisco, but somebody talked him out of that. Kim Kardashian, for sake, convinced him to sign legislation. Don't you get it? Do you really not get it at this point? Everything with him is done through personal relationships. He's a people guy. Trust me, he's not at home at night poring over the briefing books. This is government by people is saying. If anything, we need more people like me having dinner with him. You complain he's surrounded by kissers, but your strategy is to make sure no one but kissers are around him. You are not serious people.
Maher saves some of his sharpest criticism for Kamala Harris and the post-election blame game. He points out the irony: President Biden didn't have to choose her. He could have picked Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, or even AOC. Instead, Biden elevated Harris from senator to vice president, launching her into the national spotlight overnight. Yet, after the loss, Biden suddenly becomes the scapegoat. Maher questions the logic. How does blaming the person who gave you your biggest platform help the party move forward? Instead of confronting messaging failures or voter disconnect, responsibility gets pushed upward. Maher argues this kind of scapegoating fractures party unity and destroys trust. Progress doesn't come from rewriting history. It comes from honesty, accountability, and learning from defeat.
In the Barbie movie, when she storms into the Mattel boardroom, it's 12 people, all men. But Mattel is a real company. And in 2023, their boardroom is actually 6 men and 5 women. Perpetuating victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. Army of about 75 million people who'd vote for any human-adjacent life form that wasn't Trump. But in 107 days, nothing is ever Kamala's fault. Biden lets her down by not stepping down sooner. Pouty face emoji.
Maher points out that Kamala Harris didn't stop at blaming Biden. She expanded the blame in every direction. She reportedly took aim at Gavin Newsom for not endorsing her, as if a governor's nod would have guaranteed a White House win. Maher calls that mindset wildly out of touch. Endorsements don't win elections, voters do. But the deflection didn't end there. Even the public was subtly faulted, with Harris suggesting the country simply wasn't ready for the candidate she preferred. To Maher, this exposes the deeper issue. When politicians lose, instead of asking what went wrong, they decide the voters are the problem. Maher warns that this thinking is political self-sabotage. You can't win people back by insulting them, and you can't lead a country you refuse to understand.
Asked for his endorsement, but texted, "Hiking, we'll call back." But then never did. And then he didn't even ask her to prom. America itself lets Kamala down by not being ready for the running mate she really wanted, Pete Buttigieg. So she's stuck with the Home Depot paint salesman. And the rest is her.
Maher then highlights how the blame game reached even closer to home. Kamala Harris reportedly pointed fingers at her own staff and volunteers after the loss. Campaign aides, organizers, and messaging teams suddenly became convenient scapegoats. Maher says this completely misses the point. Leadership means ownership. Critics argue Harris leaned into ideological messaging that failed to resonate with working-class voters, moderates, and independents. Her campaign avoided unscripted moments, dodged tough questions, and relied on polished talking points that felt empty. Maher stresses these weren't staff mistakes, they were leadership failures. Elections aren't lost because volunteers knock on the wrong doors. They're lost when voters don't trust the messenger or believe the message. Until accountability replaces finger-pointing, Maher warns the party will keep losing.
Words, Madam President, off the cupcakes before handing them out. Oh, geez, that's like a scene from Bridget Jones Runs for President, for Christ. Can't look oversensitive or preachy or unable to laugh at themselves. They also can't look silly, like Gretchen Whitmer did, trying to hide in the Oval Office. They have to look brave and strong. It wasn't a good look for the woman party that all the guys were speaking out for Jimmy Kimmel when Trump went after him, except on the woman show.
Turns his focus to the media, calling out prominent voices for staying silent when it mattered most. He criticizes hosts who only spoke up once the controversy had passed and the risk was gone. To Maher, this exposes a broader failure in both media and politics, caution replacing conviction. Speaking out only when it's safe does nothing for credibility or influence. He connects this silence to the Democratic Party's larger problem, avoiding accountability, alienating voters, and blaming everyone but itself. From ignoring Trump supporters to finger-pointing after election losses, Maher says Democrats have locked themselves inside an echo chamber. His warning is blunt. Real progress comes from dialogue, personal connection, and honest self-reflection, not moral posturing or strategic silence. Without that shift, the party risks drifting further away from the people it claims to represent.